What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Shell. This is a new Dark Castle movie because they're still making movies in 2025, which is kind of amazing to me, but that Dark Castle name is just not, it can't stop, won't stop. I'm kind of excited because I used to like their stuff when they kind of first resurrected around the time of House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts. And I think they kind of, their content's become different and they've been doing a little bit less, but we have a new film that has audio description by Media Access Group, narrated by Peter J. Koch, and it stars Elizabeth Moss, Kate Hudson, and Kaya Gerber. So we've got couple of heavy hitters there that I didn't expect to see in this movie, who are given some absolutely absurd things to do. So this film went exactly where I thought it was going to. This also has some really sort of interesting little, almost like cameos from people like Elizabeth Berkley and Randall Park, who just kind of have very little to do, but signed up for a couple lines of dialogue for like a hot second and then move on. I guess people were really attracted to this movie. I don't think it really made an impact at the box office, if it even was really released theatrically. I don't recall anybody being like, "Oh my god, did you see Shell?" Although we put a lot of things into theaters now, so it's possible it still got a theatrical release, and I just didn't. No one really noticed. So it's now available, and you can check it at home, which is where I checked it out. Should you though? So what is Shell? We follow Elizabeth Moss, who plays one of those, like an actress with one of those names that's clearly fake, like her last name is Lake, which reminded me a lot of LA Confidential. I can't remember what her first name was, though. It was more just weird. I remember the Lake part, because I was like, oh, I like LA Confidential. Cool. And she's sort of had a little bit of a bump in her career, not unlike the same bump that Demi Moore hits in The Substance. This film is very adjacent to that, but very adjacent, but with a little bit of a different lean and a little bit of a different twist. This is basically The Substance. So she's at an audition, and she thinks she's just there to meet the director because she's sort of at that status, right? And they're like, no, you have to read. Everybody reads. The director isn't even there. It's just a taped audition. So she gets really sort of in her head, and then her agent, is kind of pointing out she's got psoriasis. I was like, she doesn't have cirrhosis of the liver, psoriasis. And so she has like these little patches on her skin, and she's aging. Love that Elizabeth Moss is considered aging now. So, could she benefit from some of the new revolutionary technology at this health company called Shell, which is led by Zoe, played by Kate Hudson. And we don't really know what they do, but they change lives. And at the one audition that she goes to, she meets this girl who's basically like an influencer. It makes her feel old because she's now breaking into career-wise. She's at the same audition, played by Kaya Gerber, who is much younger. And then she also sees her at this Shell Institute when she goes there for her treatment. She's like, why are you here? You're young. Why are you, So, but they end up, she ends up, sort of like with trepidation getting into the treatment. She meets with the doctor who's like, why don't we just sit down and talk for a while? And worst case scenario, we have good ice cream. So, and he talks her into it and walks her through the process and what it's like. And there's never really like any testimonials from people who have like survived Shell, who are like on the other side of it, who are like, wow, that was great. Like, there's basically just like Kate Hudson is the one person who claims that she's used Shell before as the owner of the company. So everybody else is just, there aren't other like, well, I did it and you'll love it. Like that's not a whole lot of people, which is one of my problems with the film. And Elizabeth Moss as a character, she never really asks for like any sort of test. Like, could I talk to somebody who's been through this? Has anybody made it out the other side? We see somebody at the top. The opening scene has like somebody who goes missing, and they have these weird little like black scab things on them. They're trying to cut off their body, which is obviously going to become part. And this is one of those films where like it's a metaphor, but it's also like extremely literal. So it's going to hit you over the head of what shell means. And just in case you were wondering, like they hit you multiple times over the head. It's like, it's a fun, campy idea. Um, but it also kind of dumbs itself down unnecessarily in certain parts. One of the things about The Substance that made it work was it had a lot to say, social commentary on aging and the lengths of what we go to it, and did it sort of through um, uh, a much more um, intelligent approach to things. This one just kind of like is like, are you picking up what we're putting down? If not, we're going to be even more obvious. Oh, look, it's a lobster on the TV screen. We're going to talk about lobsters. So, it's just, and they have shells, right? Lobsters have shells. Do you get it? Are you picking it up? Do you get what we're doing here in this movie? And they do talk about how they also extract that there are certain, I guess, sea creatures that don't age, and they like self-repair. So that's what they found, was this like gene or whatever from these sea creatures. And it's like, of course they don't, because they're crustaceans, so they form shells. If you can't see where this movie is headed, and the black scabs that were forming on the lady in the beginning, in the opening sequence, I can't help you. Um, but even though the journey is obvious, is it worth taking the trip? Sure. Like, I thought about this a lot, because I don't think this is a great movie, but I tend to lean towards performances. And also, there's a little bit of this here that's kind of campy and weird and fun. And once it kind of goes off the rails, sort of like the final part of The Substance, that last little like, which turned a lot of people off. There were some people who thought it wasn't going to be an Oscar player, because they're like, but the last part of The Substance is just, it's a bit much. Well, Shell has that too. Shell has a part where they're like, well, we're going to, and then, by the way, oh my God, look what's behind door number 2. So it absolutely heads in that direction as well. Uh, but in a different way, in its own way. And it's so similar. These films are so similar, and came up at about the same time, were developed at about the same time. Um, it's weird to see Kate Hudson in this. It's weird to see that Kate Hudson read the script and was like, yes. But then again, it's weird to see Kate Hudson heading a Netflix comedy. I think she's just at a different stage in her career, and she's adapting to it as best as she can, while staying sort of at the top billing of projects. She's trying not to fall too far down. Elizabeth Moss also, I mean, we just finished Handmaid's Tale. She should be offered like another great television project. She still gets good reviews for Invisible Man, and there are people who want a sequel to that. So it's not like there aren't options for her. And I'm sure when they looked at it, they were like, oh, this is a Dark Castle movie. Something will happen with it, I'm sure. And then Paramount dumped it on Republic, which means it doesn't go anywhere. If you ever see Paramount use their Republic logo, that's basically like saying, we're headed straight to streaming / video on demand. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. So, and I don't understand why this film, considering some of the things that I've seen passing through my theaters to fill screens, why Paramount felt like they couldn't throw this in there, why this wasn't eligible with the cast that it has, why they thought that this was going to be so big of a bomb that they couldn't try to recuperate at least some of it financially, that they couldn't give it at least some of a platform by giving it as sort of a minor theatrical release. I get it was never going to be number one at the box office, but why not? You know, I mean, I know you don't want to invest in a huge marketing campaign for it, but I see things in theaters all the time where I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Who's distributing that? My theater that used to never carry international films, 10, 15 years ago, now has international films all over the place, and anime and re-releases, and just sometimes things don't even have full screens. They just have like one or two showings a day, and they have a list of all these different movies that are playing, not even just during the Halloween season. So you're telling me Shell couldn't, anyway, so which is why I'm not sure that it didn't ever have a release anywhere, because I find it so hard with all these multiplexes that are struggling, that were built during a time period where everybody went to theaters, and now they have 30 screens and they don't know how to fill them. And you're telling me a 30 screen theater didn't have a place for Shell. So, hard to believe. But yeah, I didn't hate this movie, but it's not a great movie. And it's a movie where I'm I struggle with the fresh versus rotten thing, the tomato meter of it all. The where does this go? Because this is back when I was just doing letter grades. This was like a C for me, but the C is like right at that coin toss level where it's like, okay, when you're in the middle, where do we go? Is it just to the other side of fresh, or just to the other side of rotten? And on the argument for the fresh side would be the performances. But these aren't even the best performances by these actresses. They're just competent performances. Sort of like I recently reviewed The Hand of the Rock's Cradle. The best thing about that movie are the performances. So this is what happens when you pay good actors to do things, is when you call up Elizabeth Moss and Kate Hudson and are willing to pay them to come in, you get fun performances. And it does make a difference, because if I had to sit through, painful performances, it would make the film a lot worse. It would make a film that is already sort of like borderline in terms of plot and is a little too reminiscent of a Best Picture nominee from last year. So, ultimately, I think it just drives home the plot point too much. The audio description is solid, but even the audio description, really, I would have notes where they point out like one thing a couple times that I felt like were beating me over the head with, and I would not have gone that route, because unfortunately it just kind of felt like if we keep pointing this out, our audience is going to be lost, because they're it gets too obvious. Like, are you making movies for stupid people? Like, who are you making the movie for? Like, at a certain point, and even in the audio description, mention it once and then we get the reference, don't keep mentioning it. So like, there's this opening sequence, right? And the lady gets attacked, and I should always say spoilers at the top of these things, but I try not to tell you the ending. So it's just like varying levels of spoilers for like how the movie goes. And this is the opening sequence. When she gets attacked, there's a person with red gloves that attacks her, and we don't see the person, we don't see anything, but we see the red gloves. Now that character is going to pop up like several times with red gloves, and the audio description clocks it every single time, but I don't think we're supposed to immediately know that that person is evil from square one. And I think the continued reference to the red gloves is like, well, that's the guy. That's the guy. Don't you check out the red glove? That's the guy. And I'm like, unless the camera is like zooming in on his hand every single time, and the only thing that's filling the frame is a red glove, which wouldn't extremely surprise me because of the direction of the film. I kind of thought the film was being a little too obvious, and then the audio description was just also leaning maybe a little bit too much into it. One reference was fine. We got like three. So I get it. Her driver has red gloves. Does he have anything else? Is there anything else you can tell me about him other than red gloves so that we can feel like you're not just trying to tell me this is the guy. Psst, this is the guy. This guy right here. Do you get it? Do you see what we're doing? That's kind of what I feel like Shell is doing all the time. It's like playing the shell game, but your shells are like see-through. You know, they do the thing, they transfer the ball from shell to shell. I know it's weird for a blind person to like describe this to you. I used to also be able to see, and I think conceptually blind people understand what the shell game is, or like the rotating of cups, right? And you have like an object and you're trying to move the cups around. Well, yeah, it's like doing that, but then like you can see underneath it. It's like if we see how the trick is, if we see what the trick is in advance, doesn't it negate the coolness of the trick? Like, if you're showing it to us, isn't that why magicians don't go, this is how we do the trick, and then do the trick? Because then audiences will be like, oh, but now we know. Like, it's not as cool. So you don't really saw her in half, and that's really what you're doing. So this is like a magician telling you what the trick is before they do the trick. And I knew where this movie was headed. I was only surprised only by the level at which they were willing to go sometimes, but I kind of figured, considering this is like very substancy, I was like, at some point this is gonna go like ape shit, like The Substance did, and it does. At the end, there's creature violence that goes off the rails. So Shell's gonna fall a little bit short for me, but I wouldn't like, this is not like a run from this movie screaming. This is just sort of like, unfortunately, incompetent direction is what's weighing this film down. The need to continuously beat you over the head with the same sort of like, this is the story. We need to make sure that you're following this. So we're gonna make sure that along the way we spoon feed you this, every single bit of it. Aside from the red gloves, I like the audio description. I was like, we do not need to keep mentioning this, dudes. I get it. And if the audience doesn't get it, you've mentioned it once. You know, some people are slow. They just are to pick up on things, and let them live in the world where they can be surprised. Somebody will watch this review and still be like, well, I don't know. What's he trying to say about this movie? Where do we go? Even though other people will be like, he spoiled the whole thing. So even with that, like, there will be people who, even though I've given, I would say, a decent amount of hints towards where this movie goes, I didn't tell you how it ends. Some people will pick up on it and they'll go, well, obviously this is what that is. Other people will go, no, it's not. I can't wait to see how this movie ends. So, but the more you telegraph, and the more you allude to things, and the more you drop things into dialogue, and the more like random pictures that make no sense out of context, but like, of course they have something to do with the movie. Like all of that stuff, the more that happens, it's like, I get it. I get what you're trying to do here, but I don't want to know the nuance. There's a reason why Corley Farjan got a Best Director nomination for that movie. It's because it's a well-directed film full of nuance and subtext. That's gone here. So, this is like The Substance if The Substance was directed by Rennie Harlan. Like, it's just gone. So, I don't know. I'm going to give Shell a 5.7 out of 10. I don't completely hate this movie, and I didn't have a miserable time with it, and it has decent audio description, but the need to constantly make sure that we're pointed in the right direction is uh, unfortunately a bit of a deal breaker for me. But this is a soft rotten, not a kill it with fire rotten. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.